What's going on YouTube? Ledger here once again, this time at you again for some more Genshin Impact. And I've been playing Mavuika and Citlali quite a bit. And I'm amazed with these characters. These characters are, what can I say, better than expected, right? But you know, it's the Archon, so I should have expected it. But Citlali is included with that too. Natlin has been releasing some pretty cracked supports comparative to our previous supports. They're really coming for the titles of our previous foundations that we had within the meta. Because Mavuika, I'm letting you know right now, Xiangling's not seeing the light of day ever again on my account. I'm telling you that right now. And Citlali, well, my power carries are having a grand time, and Mavuika included. So I wanted to take the time to just go over the teams that I found that were just performed phenomenally with these two on your account. And for those of you guys who are using them, hopefully this gives you a couple ideas here. But first I wanted to go over Mavuika as a carry. Now, Mavuika as a carry, the team that you see on the screen is essentially her premium team, right? Her top of the line team. Now it's an expensive team, so I don't expect everybody to have it. But you have Mavuika, Xianglin, Bennett, and Citlali, right? And that's going to squeeze out the most damage you're ever going to see from Citlali as of right now, right? Unless somebody else comes and power creeps Bennett. You know, with how Natlin's going, that might not be an exaggeration, you know? But this is the top tier team right now. And I gotta say, in the previous video, I talked about Arlecchino versus Hu Tao to see which one was stronger. And in that video, I talked about how Hu Tao and her best team is stronger than Arlecchino and their best team. And honestly, number one, that's not true anymore. Number two, Mavuika blows them both out the water. I gotta tell you, she blows them both out the water. Now, the reason why I say this is because I took Hu Tao's best team and kind of pitted it up against Mavuika's best team and see who could dish out the most damage the fastest in specific scenarios. And honestly, it came very close because my Hu Tao, like, I invested a whole lot into that team. But Mavuika would either tie her or beat her with my highly invested Hu Tao. But keep in mind, my Hu Tao team has C6 Hu Tao, C2 Farina with Ki, Xianglin with her signature weapon, and C4 Yelan with Elegy of the End. This is super whale investment when it comes to my Hu Tao team. And when it comes to my Mavuika team, everybody is C0 except for Bennett, who's C6. Everybody is C0. Now, that means that the maximum I can get out of Hu Tao, with whaling included, Mavuika was able to beat that right on her floor, right there. No constellations, no nothing. The moment Mavuika gets a constellation, it's over. The moment Xianglin gets some constellations, it's over. The moment Citlali gets some constellations, it's over. The Mavuika team is just, from my experience, is the best DPS team within this game. But I mean, you don't only have to use this team if you want to use her as a DPS. You can use her in an overload comp when it comes to using a Chevrolet's team. That also can work when you're using her as a DPS. You can still use Vape if you couldn't afford to get both Citlali and Mavuika at the same time. You can still use Vape with Farina. That works perfectly well. Or if you have like another hydro applicator, then that can work also, like Yelan, so on and so forth. Maybe weaving in a normal attack or two to get to reapply that hydro. And same thing when it comes to Xianglin. When it comes to, honestly, there's ways to kind of get around not having Xianglin on the team when it comes to Mavuika actually DPSing. But I honestly don't recommend using her as a DPS if you don't have Xianglin. I just don't. But hey, there's still ways you can do it. You know, you want to make sure you have at least a Natlin character on the team to kind of compensate for that. You can use Auroron. I don't have Auroron, so I can't show you that. Or you can use Kachina, which is kind of a copium way to go about it. But it's a way you can go too. But if you don't have Xianglin or Citlali, then I would say just put aside your dreams of having Mavuika be the main DPS for you. You know, it's a tough truth, but it's the truth nonetheless. So, but yeah, but that's what I want to say when it comes to her being a DPS, right? Now, when it comes to just teams overall, one thing that I do when it comes to trying to like really see who's who are going to be the most top performing teams on my account is I take a look at my best teams right here, right? I always have my best teams out ready to look at and how many teams is that character going to fit on, which is why someone like Shen Yun, I kind of regret getting her a little bit because, well, she's not on any of these teams right now. So she's not on any of my strongest teams, so it is what it is. But when we take a look through here, you're going to see Mavuika and Citlali on a lot of these teams. And one thing that presently surprised me about Mavuika is that she was able to alleviate the stress off of Farina, because before they came out, if you looked at these teams that I have displayed, you would see Farina on most of them. And that's because Farina is just so cracked and she was able to fit on every single team and improve every single team to a high degree. But now I can fit Mavuika on a few of those teams. So if you see here, this is a team with Mavuika. I like her on this team much more than I like Farina on this team. A lot. Mainly because if we do the numbers here, like I would say that Farina could arguably does more damage, right? Maybe slightly, but it's arguable, it's debatable. But Navia herself is putting out similar amounts of damage, but also the main issue that I had with Farina on this team is there's two issues. One, I hate putting Farina with Bennett, right? Because Farina is constantly taking my life. Bennett is not healing me up completely, so I'm not really getting that overflow healing that allows a singular healer to heal the team. So my HP is always in shambles, and it's just when it comes to trying to battery my Farina, it was just a pain. Don't like it. Didn't like it too much, but it put up big numbers, so I dealt with it. But with Mavuika, it's now very smooth because Mavuika feeds Bennett and Citlali feeds Mavuika when it comes to energy. Navia doesn't have energy problems really whatsoever. So the rotations are constantly smooth going. And then the resonances that I'm getting the power resonance that people would like to use when they use Zhang Ling. Who? But the things with Zhang Ling didn't buff Navia at all. But Mavuika, what she's doing, she's buffing Navia. Now I could buff Navia using the Cinder City set, or typically I just leave Mavuika just on her Obsidian set, so she just deals more damage. Because I don't until we get loadouts, I'm just gonna keep doing that. But I have a Cinder City set right and ready, and to be out, and also too, Citlali has a Cinder City, so you can't have both of them at the same time. And I'm not gonna go and farm a Petra set, but if you want to be optimal, then yeah, you'd get a Petra set for Citlali, and then you'd put her on Cinder City, and that is going to be, huge amounts of damage. But she's still buffing her up, right? So you're getting that too, and so this just really works wonderfully. So I would say that this is an upgrade for Navia, to have Mavuika with Navia instead of Farina. Then we have Citlali team. Now, with Citlali team, having Mavuika on, I don't like the whole idea of having Citlali on the team. It just seems weird and clunky to me. But to have Mavuika on this team is an upgrade. I'm not really sure why people are saying that it's not. Because in every way I'm seeing, it's a clear upgrade. It's a clear upgrade whether you're doing, Citlali on Petra and Mavuika on Cinder City, or if you're just doing what I'm doing, just leaving Mavuika on Obsidian and keeping Citlali on Cinder City for the artifact sets. I just think that this is just a fantastic team because Mona gives the Hydro Resonance and she gives the damage bonus that is going to be able to help amplify Citlali's damage. Yeah, Mavuika is giving her buffs to Citlali. I guess if you do the rotation wrong, I guess I can see how that can be an issue. I see a lot of people, instead of using Mona, using Kazuo, but that just seems clunky to me and a waste of Kazuo's time. So I do prefer this being the optimal team when it comes to that. Candace can also be a replacement for Mona in this situation. Preferably if Candace is not C6, but if Candace is C6, then yeah, maybe that could take a vape or two, but you know, it shouldn't be too big of a problem. Correction, I take that back. C6 Candace completely ruins the vapes. So C5 Candace and below. All right, C6 Candace is not going to be a good option. Mavuika can't keep the power on the enemy. This is a clear upgrade. I don't miss a single vape whenever I use this. Mulaney's damage gets a clear upgrade when it comes to it. It's definitely the team to go with right there. Keep in mind too, yeah, if you don't have Shalona, you could probably put another character like Baizu back on the team or something like that. You know, that could be something that you should work with. Somebody that's not going to mess with Mavuika's power application, then you can always do that. But this is going to be the best team. The highest performing team that I've been able to muster up when it comes to Mulaney. Then we have Neuvillette. Now with the Neuvillette team, you can see Citlali is on the team also. With Neuvillette, I can't believe it. I completely overlooked this. I thought I was getting everything the world had to offer when it came to Neuvillette, Kazuha, Shallonen, and Furina. I thought I had everything, but this team might be better for Neuvillette at C0. It is what it is, because it's giving him all his stacks, right? He's able to crystallize with Shallonen, he's able to vape with Mavuika, and he's able to freeze with Citlali. And it's a whole lot of damage. Mavuika is able to melt her burst. If you do the rotation correctly, Neuvillette is able to vape a lot of his hits, which is crazy, which is pretty crazy. I was getting some pretty high vapes, and I have a C0 R0 Neuvillette, so it was you know, kicking ass and taking names. What can I say? But this team performed phenomenally, much better than I anticipated. I mean, yeah, it's better because it has all 5-star limited 5-star characters on the team, but I mean, all these characters are pretty high value pulls, so a lot of you guys might have all these characters. I've noticed a lot of people were able to pull Mavuika and Citlali together. But yeah, I mean, if you don't have one of these characters, then Kazuha can just squeeze right up on in there, and then you're good to go when it comes to that. So if you do have Kazuha, which is also another 5-star limited, but that is another high value pull, which a lot of people should have. As always, Sucrose also fits into whatever team Kazuha could be on too. So keep that in mind too. So if you don't have Shallonen or Citlali, just throw Kazuha on there and he'll do a fine job. Now, one quick mention here with Kaniche, right? Now, this one surprised me because I wanted to fit Kaniche with Mavuika pretty badly because I thought it would go perfectly, you know. Somebody who could use Cinder City that is going to be able to buff the Dendro damage. But lo and behold, Furina still holds the crown on this team. It is what it is. I don't have Emily, so when it comes to comparing how Furina versus Emily works in this situation, I'd say yay or nay for that. But you know, this just works out the best. Mainly because I can put Dea on the Dendro set so she can reduce Dendro resistance, you know, Bennett for obvious attack buffing reasons, and the massive amounts of damage bonus that Furina is giving. To me, it just works out well. And even if Furina has some energy issues, Dea can just throw on a Favonius, and you can stack Eon on her too, so when you do Burgeons, it does do a little bit of damage. This team just works too well. Mavuika just doesn't fit here. So I just wanted to mention that even though it's not a Mavuika team, I feel that people might be looking forward to using her, but if you have Furina, I would say just keep Furina on the team and don't worry about switching Mavuika over to Cinder City for Kaniche. Now for some honorable mentions for teams to have Mavuika on. I mean, you can always do plunge teams, having her as a main DPS, you know, possibly having, you know, Citlali on there or Furina and having her vape or melt the plunges. And then that's also too if you don't have, if like your Bennett is tied up, or if you don't have Shallonen or something like that, then yeah, maybe that's something you can do for a little bit of fun when it comes to that. But of course, the other teams that I mentioned are going to perform a little bit better. Another honorable mention might be Melt Ganyu. You can definitely try that out, see if that helps out. That's also another something else that you can try out. Or you can even try some Mono Pyro with Arlecchino. That's also something that you can also try too. yeah, those are a few suggestions when it comes to Mavuika. But now, let's talk about Citlali's team, right? Now, a few of them do have some common teams right there, so I'm not going to go over those teams again that Mavuika and Citlali are both on. But Citlali is a force to be reckoned with because she buffs melt teams to the high heavens. Now, I haven't paid much attention to the freeze teams, mainly because it's just not that viable right now when it comes to the meta, having a freeze team with a hydro damage dealer being the lead of that team. You can always do it for fun, but when it comes to just its usefulness, it's just not that great. But you can always use Ayato and try and pull that off if you want. It'll work. You'll be able to get you through the abyss a few times. Yeah. But I'm gonna be prioritizing the melt teams. If you don't, so let's start with Hu Tao right here. If you have Hu Tao and you want to use her, right, and you don't have the 5-star premier team that she has right here to boost her damage up the most, what you can do is, one of the previous teams that we used to have when it came to Hu Tao was this team right here. It was Zhongli with the double hydro, right? Now this team did quite a bit of work for quite some time, especially when they made the change to the hydro resistance to give Hu Tao extra HP. But now we can go back to this team, but instead throw Citlali on there, right? Now with this, you'll be able to get a couple freezes, and with those freezes, Hu Tao will be able to melt. And even if she doesn't, her vapes are going to hit even harder because within the city, she is buffing Pyro and she's buffing Hydro. She's also reducing the resistances of those two elements based on her passive, which is the same that Zhongli was doing. So it's guaranteed more damage when it comes to this. So you're going to be seeing quite the improvement within this team comp right here. Then we have Chaska right here. Now Chaska, people say that having Mavuika on here instead of Farina is definitely an upgrade, but I just haven't had better results, mainly because my Farina does have Constellation, so I guess that could add to that, but it just doesn't feel as right. I prefer to have Farina on here over Mavuika, but I'd say you're fine to go either way. But Citlali is a staple now. Citlali is a new staple when it comes to Chaska teams. One, because she gives her shield. Two, because she's buffing the other elements on the team, both Pyro and Hydro shots that are coming from Chaska. And it just works together. It almost feels like she was made for Chaska, which is fantastic. Which is a great thing right there, because my Chaska does perform considerably better. My Chaska is C0 R0, and she was able to one cycle the Primo Bishop within this abyss. And what more can I ask for? Because that's a lot of HP to drain down when you're only C0. And Citlali, my Citlali C0 too. The only person with constellations is Farina on this team. So it's quite the feat. So with a C0 Farina, the most it will take you is 2 cycles, maybe 1.5. So you'll love to see it there. Citlali and Chaska, match made in heaven. Or they went over to Nouvellette team. Now Arlecchino. Now this team, it took me a little while to get it to work correctly. There's different ways you can go about it. Instead of Kazuha, you can have Yelan if you're dealing with mobs and they can freeze. That's also a possibility that you can have right there. Or Xingqiu, of course. You can even do double cryo. I think one of my favorite cryos to put as a second cryo is Diona, actually. If you have LG of the N2, you can give that to Diona. Because Diona, with Constellation, she gives 200 EM to whoever is standing in her little circle there. So that does work. I know that sometimes I think her burst has a pretty long cooldown. So that could extend rotations, but those are consistent melts that you'll be able to get off. So that is something that I really like. But Melt Arlecchino is best Arlecchino, I gotta say. She hits very, very hard. She hits the hardest with Kazuha on the team, but she hits very, very hard. And it's just wonderful to see. I mean, my Arlecchino C1, so she might have a little buff in damage compared to others, but a C1 doing melting for an auto attack of 600,000 is outrageous. It is outrageous. And she's able to do that because now she's able to melt. Like when I compared Arlecchino and Hu Tao, in that video I did say like, hey, we might end up getting a support that's going to kind of put Arlecchino over the edge to where Hu Tao's best team doesn't compete anymore. And well, this is the situation where I was talking about. This is what happened. My Arlecchino now just hits a lot harder than my Hu Tao can hope to at C1, and my Hu Tao was C6. So this is a fantastic team for the rotation is very important for this team. So I kind of go through rotation because you can do different things to do it. You can always go through a simple rotation where you just kind of you start with Arlecchino's E to kind of place her mark. From that pyro, you swirl with Kazuha, then you burst with Bennett, and then you do the Citlali skill and burst. Then in this situation, you're not bursting with Kazuha at all because it can mess up reactions when it comes to that. But I'm greedy and I want all the damage I could possibly get. So I want to burst with Kazuha. And this is the rotation that I do when it comes to the Arlecchino and Citlali team. So now this doesn't work well if you're using TTDS with Citlali. So you might want to use another catalyst when it comes to that, like Sacrificial Fragments if you don't have her signature weapon. TTDS just isn't going to do the trick because you're going to have to do a special rotation for this. So what you want to do is you want to start with your E to put down Arlecchino's mark. This is going to apply power to the enemy, but you don't want to swirl power right now. So what you're going to do is you're going to put Citlali on the field, have her burst, right? I believe somebody went over this rotation somewhere else. I heard about it where they said skill first, but I don't like that because sometimes all the power doesn't come off. I wouldn't want to burst first. So you burst, and that completely takes away all the pyro off and applies cryo onto the enemy. Then from there, you come in, you burst with Kazuha, right? Now you're going to have a cryo burst, a cryo-infused burst with Kazuha. And from there, you burst an E with Bennett. And now you're going to have, your Bennett circle, and there should be some pyro on the enemy. And from here, you switch over to Kazuha, swirl pyro, come back down with his E, then switch back over to Citlali. Now you activate her E, because at the beginning of the rotation, you did her burst without Eing. The end, now you're doing her E, right? And then from there, it's not giving you a lot of time within Bennett's burst because this rotation's been so long, but you do have enough time to get some pretty huge hits out with Arlecchino with her melts. And she's able to come in and you're able to just constantly melt for at least 2 or 3 times while having all the buffs up. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful sight to see. With my Arlecchino, she's hitting over 600,000 with that. With the Caesar Arlecchino, it should be around 500,000, which is still very impressive if you pull this off correctly. So Citlali and Arlecchino, beautiful, fantastic. And other Citlali teams are essentially just any other melt team. If you have Diluc on your account, then she's able to do that. I believe Klee does way too much pyro to be able to get consistent melt, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I wouldn't really use her on cryo teams because it's just not what her kit is for, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Yeah, but those are the teams that I do find that Mavuika and Citlali have been able to just skyrocket and give wondrous amount of results for. And I'm impressed. I gotta say, I'm quite impressed with the results that I'm getting. Now, granted, there might be some more teams that I didn't mention that they can't fit on, but I tried to at least mention the ones that I find are performing very well within the end game, within the Abyss, that you can slap together. Hopefully you have at least some of these units or the replacements for them within those teams, right? The possibilities are limitless with these two. They are extremely valuable units for now and definitely for the near future. So definitely units worth getting. Let me know if you guys were able to pick either one of them up or even both of them up. Definitely down in the comments down below. which one is your favorite team to use with these two guys. And yeah, like the video if you like the content I'm giving you. Of course, subscribe to the channel to get more content like this. With on here, Legend out.